the Motor Extender Plan from Hollard. The smart, affordable way to keep your car on the road. Extend the working life of your car with the Motor Extender Plan from Hollard. SMS your name to 31465 now and we'll call you back.
All right, here we go. This is the conversation we're going to be talking about this morning. Divorce. I know it's not so nice to talk about divorce over your cornflakes, but unfortunately, the reality is this is something that is happening fast and furiously in South Africa. Already people are writing to me on Twitter. We haven't even started the conversation and people are talking to me. Michelle Atkinson says to me, I got divorced in 2001. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, but I'm now happily married to my soulmate. So, all right, a happy ending story. That's one tweet. Let's talk. Most married couples will remember the excitement of their wedding day. I do. And the joy and promise that it held. It is during exciting times that people very often forget to plan ahead, however. Past the cakes and the bouquets and all of those fancy things like the dresses and the suits, into the devastating financial reality of when things go wrong, especially for women. Well, today we've invited two experts to thrash out some of the neglected key issues that people should consider when the topic of marriage comes up. Let's welcome from our Cape Town studios, we've got Sylvia Walker. She's an Old Mutual Market Development Manager who will offer our financial perspective. Sylvia, good morning to you. It's so lovely to have you with us on Morning Live.
Thanks, Leanne. Morning.
Thank you. And in our studio, I've got Michael Motswaneng, the founder and director of Motswaneng Bill Attorneys, who will offer us a legal perspective on the matter. Good to have you. Welcome to Morning Live.
Good to be here.
Good.
And I look forward to the discussion.
All right. Now, this is a perfect discussion for people who are about to start embarking on the journey of getting married, because it is exciting. It's a wonderful journey. Don't look forward, do we? Because unfortunately, things do go wrong, and a little bit too often lately. Sylvia, let me start with you. When it comes to women, because I think we're focusing quite a bit on women. It is Women's Month. So let's talk about women in particular when it comes to marriage. Do women adequately financially prepare themselves before marriage?
Leanne, I think the problem is, as you say, when people get married, all they're thinking about is the wedding and the honeymoon and the flowers. And nobody gets married thinking it's going to end. That's the problem. But you know, the reality is that about a third of marriages actually end up in the divorce court. So the intelligent thing to do is obviously to protect yourself either way, because you know, life happens. But as I say, it's really the problem is at the outset that everybody's going to be married. You know, when you get married, you're going to be married forever. So, you know, people don't prepare for the reality or the possibility that perhaps this whole thing will dissolve and then there will be dire financial consequences. That's really what happens at the end of the day. I mean, it's a contract, as Michael will probably elaborate. It's all a marriage is really a piece of paper. It's a contract. And when that contract dissolves, you know, the terms of that agreement is really what counts. And people don't adequately, they don't see that, they don't prepare for that, no. Short answer, no.
Okay, in short, no. The answer is no. Let's talk about a legal perspective now. Do people adequately prepare before marriage when we talk of the legalities of marriage?
You know, more recently, you do see a lot of people taking the care to protect themselves by entering into various contracts, such as the antenuptial contract. But generally, historically, people just got married. And what a lot of people didn't realize is that if you go to the magistrate's office or the Home Affairs Department and you say you want to get married, automatically in South Africa, unlike some European countries, you're automatically married in community of property unless you enter an antenuptial contract, which excludes marriage in community of property. Yeah. So a lot of people, there is a great awareness that is beginning to emerge, but generally speaking, there's still a great more people who still do not know the different marriage regimes. And that's very important to understand.
Just briefly talk us through them. Give us the dummy's guide to the different options you have available.
You generally have three options. You can get married in community of property, which means what's yours is mine and vice versa. You could have out of community of property, which means I keep what's mine and you keep what's yours. And then you have my favorite, which is out of community of property with the accrual system. So what that means is I keep what I have for the currency of the marriage. So in other words, my debtors can come to you and yours can come to me. But at the dissolution of the marriage, we say, how much did you enter the marriage with? And we only divide that part of the estate that has accrued after the date. So if I started with 9 million rands in my estate, when we divorce, you only get the difference between my 9 million that I started off with and what has accrued. So if at the end of the marriage I have 12 million, we don't share my 9 million, we only share the 3 million.
Yeah.
That's the accrual portion of it.
Yeah.
So that's my favorite for one reason. We get to share in the spoils of what I have generated whilst I was with you, not what I generated before. But even more importantly, it is for all intents and purposes out of community of property. So I still get the protection that I would have gotten if it were out of community of property without the accrual system. So for those two reasons, that is my favorite.
All right, Sylvia, I'm sure you agree with Michael on that issue of the legalities and signing the respective contracts. But you know, when people get married, I think perhaps one of the mistakes that happens is that, all right, let's do everything together. Let's open one bank account. Let's put everything together. Let's not become independent entities. Let's just become one. Is that a mistake? Is that something that you find that couples do, or is that the right thing to do? You give us some advice.
You know, it's an interesting question, Leanne, because I think there's sort of two schools of thought. There is one school that, yes, we are now one, so, you know, we put everything in one pot and we do everything together. And then there is another school of thought that says, no, each person should still do their own financial planning, keep their finances separate. And obviously I am a proponent of the second school of thought because it makes sense, it protects you, particularly as a woman. We found in our research that it's quite interesting. If you look at the average marriage, a man will spend, and this is a generalization, but very often the man spends his money on the policies, the bond, the cars, the assets, and the woman spends her money on household expenses, taking care of the children, the education, the domestic help, all of that stuff. And what you find is if that marriage dissolves one day, a woman's got very little to show for everything that she's put in. Whereas the man has often got the assets, he's got the stuff that he's paid for. So, you know, one needs to be aware. It's really just about being mindful as you are in that marriage to have your own investments, have your own financial planning, just to make sure that you are financially okay if anything went wrong. And it's not just divorce. You know, a lot of other things go wrong in marriages. You know, people lose their businesses, people get retrenched. So there are a whole lot of potential pitfalls, financial pitfalls, that one needs to protect yourself against.
That is so interesting, and I think that's a huge point to pick up on. Let's take a very quick break. We're going to continue this discussion. Don't go anywhere. I hope you're enjoying it, and we're going to give you some more advice after the break. Stay tuned.
Nandi's husband had the wisdom to take out a whole lot funeral plan. When he passed away, they paid out 50,000 rand. And that gave her the freedom to mourn, because she knew things were being taken care of.
Live with peace of mind knowing that your family is covered by up to 50,000 rand with the Hollard Funeral Plan. SMS Funeral or send a please call me to 083-227-2107. Hollard, we get you.
At Pick n Pay, we've put together our winter hot list for you, with thousands of ways to make the most of winter savings. Top of the list, a 500-gram brick of Rama spread for bread for $9.99, 500 grams of P&P cornflakes for $16.99, and assorted 1-liter P&P iced tea or fruit concentrate for $17.99 each. Remember, spend your points and save your cash. If it's on our list, it's hot. Pick n Pay, always there for you.